Hi, friends. I have another vegetable story to read to you for this week that we're talking about vegetables. This one you might have heard before, and it's so fun. It's a favorite. This one is Muncha, Muncha, Muncha by Candace Fleming, and the illustrations are by G. Brian Karras. And I have permission from Simon and Schuster to read the story to you today. Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. Oh, I see a vegetable. That's a carrot, isn't it? It's been eaten. Who's been eating the vegetables? Let's find out. For years, Mr. McGreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. Look, here's Mr. McGreely, and here is his yard where he can plant a garden. But he never once tried. Until this spring, said Mr. McGreely. This spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. There he is. He's thinking about those vegetables, isn't he? So he hoed. That means he dug with a special tool called a hoe. And he sowed. That means he put the seeds in the ground. And he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. Yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McGreely. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. Veggies, those are vegetables like we're talking about. Look who's watching him. Are those bunnies over there? But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh, those bunnies like to eat vegetables, don't they? The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get into my garden now. No bunnies. Look who's watching. The bunnies are watching, aren't they? And the sun went down and the moon came up and tippy, 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 pat. Spring hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Those bunnies jumped right over that small wire fence, didn't they? And they ate those vegetables. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Humph, he huffed, those floppy ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. No bunnies. Look, who do you see? Right there, can you see them? Those are the bunnies watching Mr. McGreely build that tall wooden wall. Here's Mr. McGreely. He's sleeping in his bed. He's dreaming about carrots. And the sun went down and the moon came up and tippy, tippy, pat. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. They dug under his wall. Spring hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh, did the bunnies eat his garden? His vegetables? The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench, look, all around, outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those pufftails can't get under it. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. He says, ah ha ha ha, just like that. He was really, really angry. What's going to happen now? And the sun went down and the moon came up. And tippy, 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 pat. Dive, paddle, splash, splash, splash. Those bunnies can swim. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring, hurdle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh dear, the bunny still got his vegetables. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. Furious is a word that means really, really, really angry. He was furious. So, he hammered and blocked and sawed and stalked and drilled and filled and trapped and locked and built a huge, enormous thing before the deep wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. So he said, I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure, he exclaimed. They can't get through it, they can't get under it, and they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now. They can't do it. Look, it's so big. Look, here is his house with somebody watching on top. And here is his huge, enormous thing around his garden. It's bigger than his house, isn't it? And the sun went down and the moon came up and tippy, 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 stop. The three hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them and tippy, 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 pat. The bunnies hopped away. Did they eat the vegetables? Not this night. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. There he is. He says, yes. I beat the bunnies! He whooped and did a jiggly wiggly victory dance. Then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGreely, at last. Smacking his lips, he picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. He was going to reach into his basket. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Who was in his basket? Were those bunnies in his basket? Let's look. Let's go back here and see. When he's climbing over into his garden, look. Can you see? Are there bunny ears in his basket? They were hiding in there, weren't they? His bunnies were hiding in his basket, so he carried them right to the vegetables. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Oh, dear. Oh, so Mr. McGreely says, I'm just going to have to share. He's sharing with those bunnies, isn't he? They're all eating carrots. Thanks for listening to my story, friends.